The memory that wasn't yours. Part 1. The arrival of an unnamed feeling. There is a certain kind of memory that doesn't belong to your mind. It doesn't arrive through stories or photographs. It has no timestamp. You don't remember it with your head. You feel it. It arrives as a pull in the chest, a heaviness in the stomach, a strange ache behind your eyes. It arrives when you stand in a city you've never been to before and suddenly know where the old staircase leads. It arrives when a stranger's voice startles something familiar inside you and you can't explain why. Sometimes it's subtle, like a dream you almost forgot. Other times it floods in, raw, full-bodied, almost overwhelming. A grief that catches you in the middle of a good day. A flash of terror in a place that feels completely safe. A love so old it has no source in this life. You brush it off. You tell yourself it's imagination or coincidence, that you've just seen too many movies. But the feeling doesn't leave. It lingers, and part of you knows this didn't come from nowhere. Most people live their whole lives brushing these moments aside, but not you, because you've always known, haven't you? Even if you didn't have the language for it. You've felt things that didn't make sense. You've carried moods that didn't match your circumstances. You've walked through the world sensing more than you could explain. You were not broken. You were receptive. You were not overreacting. You were attuning. You were not making things up. You were remembering something that didn't begin with you. Let's pause there, because that idea alone is radical. That your body, not your biography, might be the most honest keeper of memory. That your intuition might be more accurate than your calendar. That your dreams might be the bridge between timelines. Not as fantasy, but as remembrance. Part 2. Memory beyond the mind. Modern science tells us that memory lives in the brain, that it is a biochemical imprint, a byproduct of lived experience. But what if memory isn't confined to the body? What if it's not a file cabinet in your skull, but a field that surrounds and permeates you? Many ancient traditions have long known what science is only beginning to suspect. Memory is not just individual, it is ancestral, emotional, energetic. It exists not just in neurons, but in cells, in breath, in space. Epigenetics has shown us that trauma can be inherited across generations. Patterns of fear, shame, silence, and rage can pass through bloodlines. But inheritance isn't only genetic, it's atmospheric. You inherit the emotional weather of those who came before you. You carry your mother's unshed tears, your grandfather's suppressed rage, the hunger of your great-great-grandmother's migration across land and sea. These are not metaphors. They are realities encoded into your nervous system. Some researchers now believe the heart holds memory too, not just the brain. Cardiac transplant patients have reported inheriting preferences, memories, even flashes of emotion from the donor. As strange as it sounds, this aligns with mystical teachings from cultures all over the world. That memory is a vibrational imprint held in every organ, not just the mind. Imagine that your body is a memory palace, not filled with facts, but feelings, not organized chronologically, but emotionally. The tension in your shoulders might be a grandfather's silence. The unease you feel around water might belong to a forgotten drowning several generations back. These imprints are not always wounds. Some are gifts, joy that erupts for no reason, wisdom that feels older than your years. You might wonder, why me? Why am I the one feeling all this? The answer is simple, because you are the one who can. In every lineage, there comes someone who is sensitive enough, strong enough, and willing enough to feel what others could not. You are not the burdened one. You are the vessel of release. What arises in you may not need explanation. It may not need a backstory. What it needs is acknowledgement. What it needs is breath. What it needs is a body that does not run. Healing does not always look like catharsis. Sometimes it is a quiet presence, a willingness to be with what others couldn't bear. Sometimes it is just your heartbeat saying, I'm still here. Part 3. The echoes of future memory. Memory is not only about the past. Some memories come from the future. You might scoff at that, but pause for a moment. Haven't you felt it? That sudden knowing, that dream that felt more real than waking, that encounter with someone you've never met, but somehow already love. That feeling of being remembered by a place you've never seen. Time as we experience it is not absolute. Consciousness doesn't follow clocks. Intuition defies chronology. Dreams travel in every direction. You may call it precognition, or prophecy, or fate. But what if it's simpler than that? What if you're just picking up a signal from the life you are already living 5 years from now? What if memory flows both forward and backward? In some indigenous traditions, ancestors and descendants are seen as part of the same living circle. The unborn are present as spirits, influencing the choices of the living. The future is not waiting, it is watching. You may remember a future in the same way you remember a distant childhood, vaguely, emotionally, with flashes of clarity. You may remember the life you came here to grow into, not in detail, but in essence. You may feel the gravitational pull of it, like a star hidden behind a cloud. What if the pull you feel toward a certain path is your future self whispering back to you? What if the déjà vu isn't about the past repeating, it's the future arriving? You are not just the product of your history. You are the bridge between memory and possibility. You are both archive and prophecy.